Love. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
Look for highs in the upper 70s for the next several days. A cold front will bring some stormy conditions in the evenings. Things start to warm up as we head toward the weekend. Right now it's 68 degrees at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, we got through a historical moment yesterday with the first ever president being indicted on criminal charges without incident, thankfully.
Yeah, and I think we have this default setting now. We think that every time there's a gathering, it's going to turn into January 6th. So everyone's on high alert and panic. That's not necessary. That's the aberration. January 6th was the surprise. Not that a bunch of Americans can get together and act appropriately. That shouldn't be a surprise to us. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
Here are 3 things Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Let's stay on the theme, shall we? Is it time for Utah lawmakers to get tougher on Utah road ragers? There's a meeting today on Capitol Hill, lawmakers on Capitol Hill all day. Of course, there's that special session for the special election. This meeting is different than that, though. This one has to do with the number of shootings, crashes on Utah roads that spawn from road rage. In the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to take a look on how other states are dealing with road rage incidents. It seems like Utah law, when I looked into it, Dave, is pretty weak in this area. And remember what the Utah Highway Patrol told us when we talked about this very issue last week.
Looking at those numbers over the last several years, we range from anywhere from the 700s into the 800s, and we're about on par with that for this year as well.
That's just the number of incidents that Utah Highway Patrol deals with.
Crashes specifically.
Yeah.
That is incredible. That's 2 or 3 crashes every single day because of road rage. So there's no problem that a new law can't solve, right? That's kind of the joke out there that, well, if there's a problem, we got to pass a new law. But there is a law that I like, and I think it's gaining some momentum. It's the idea of enhancements. If you road rage, you get an enhancement. So speeding is bad in and of itself, but when you are road rage speeding, then the punishment is worse.
Countdown. 2.
Is there some unfair politics at play on Capitol Hill? Let me set the scene. As part of today's special session over the special election over Representative Chris Stewart's congressional seat being vacated in September, we anticipate that lawmakers will also set a new deadline for voters to be allowed to swap party affiliation. And that deadline may likely be today if this new rule, this law is passed and if it's signed by the governor. So we're going to ask the clerk in charge of Salt Lake County's elections to expand on the explanation she gave about this to KSL at Night last night.
Let's say United Utah wanted to vote in the Republican primary. They would have to do so before the bill takes effect. Otherwise, the change does not take effect until after the primary is done.
Whoa.
Okay, first of all, there is nothing wrong with the party choosing their candidate. With GOP, United Party, Democratic Party, there's nothing wrong with the party making some rules to make sure that they get to choose their candidate. But if you want to work around, if you want some shady shenanigans, I certainly have the easiest solution for every Utahn if you want to participate in the shady shenanigans.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
Is former President Trump's command to draw a crowd waning? Case in point, federal court in Florida yesterday, site of his criminal hearing, his initial hearing. Florida has 5.6 million registered Republicans. 5.6 million registered Republicans. The Miami Herald reports there were hundreds of supporters at the courthouse yesterday. I think maybe his greatest hits are starting to sound stale to supporters.
And I am the only one that can save this nation because you know they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving.
You say maybe his command of a crowd is waning. I think the crowd may be a little gun shy. Last time they showed up, they got thrown into federal prison. So maybe they don't trust the system, and they're not showing up for that. Or they're done with the guy. That's entirely possible as well.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Presidential indictment. In-depth coverage on KSL News Radio.
Way to play it safe, Dave. It's either or. So it did hit me this morning that the up to 50,000 people that police were anticipating could show up in support or in protest of President Trump did not even come close. Did not even come close. In fact, I heard this last night on CNN. So many seats left over in the courtroom, even though the courtroom itself was crowded at President Trump's hearing. There were designated seats just reserved for the public, but they didn't get filled. So the media got more seats. Here's CNN.
Packed courtroom, by the way. Initially, the U.S. Marshals and the clerk told us we were going to be limited to about 20 seats inside that courtroom, along with members of the public. They actually had very few members of the public actually show up there to be in the room, and they ended up taking about 40 reporters inside this very packed courtroom.
So now we're making fun of the guy because not enough supporters, not enough protesters showed up. Which one do you want? Do you want a whole bunch of people following around Trump like a little a groupie fan base, like he's a rock star? Yeah, that's not how it is supposed to be. We're not supposed to be following around groupie style our politicians. That's not the role. This is not entertainment.
I think to your point earlier, it's January 6th. It's the insurrection when President Trump rallied that huge crowd to march to the United States Capitol.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them.
So that was January 6th, 2021. And then since then, 1,000 people have found themselves arrested. Almost half have been criminally sentenced. Almost 300 jailed or in prison. The longest sentence I've seen is 18 years in prison. There's been a 14-year sentence, a 10-year sentence, an 8.5-year sentence, a 7-year sentence, down to a 3-month sentence. I don't know if these folks are getting calls from President Trump and well wishes behind prison bars, but I would imagine it's a pretty lonely feeling for them right now. And the supporters who have loved him, who do want to follow him, are afraid to do so.
Well, and you're wondering why they're not showing up? You just gave a big list of folks that are spending time in federal prison.
It sent a message.
And that's not good, right? I mean, it's not good that people are afraid to come. No, it's not.
Well, I think it
is not a good.
I think people are afraid to be drawn into something they didn't initially plan to be drawn into. Many of these people have expressed regret for going down that path and going into the Capitol and crossing the line into criminal activity.
I think it's bad anytime someone feels unsafe to go protest, to go support a candidate. If they feel intimidated, that is a bad thing.
I think they feel intimidated by other supporters who are there in support of him that could drag them into the mess. I don't think they feel intimidated by anything else other than that. But let's go live to New Jersey. That's where President Trump spoke last night to a crowd after he made his court appearance.
People like my name, J-Lo.
Yesterday,
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple.
More live from New Jersey with News Nation next.
Dave and Dujanovic. Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
Lawmakers return to Utah's Capitol Hill.
The law in question requires school districts to give notice before they close kids' schools down.
Lawmakers then head to the House and Senate floors to work out the details for the special election that will replace Congressman Chris Stewart.
Eye on the Hill 2023. Interim session all this week on KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
Hey, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's time to change the game. It's all about changing the conversation. I did that 18 months ago with SOTA Weight Loss. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is state-of-the-art. I lost 37 pounds in less than 90 days, and here I am a year and a half later. I feel better, I sleep better, I perform better, and all through a very simple process. The pounds and inches roll away, and most important, you get to that strong space where you feel like yourself again or like you've got that energy. And I'm not the only one. There are countless people across the country, and right here in the state of Utah, I love to hear from people who will send me a text or pull me aside at an event and say, Boyd, I did it. I did it, and it worked, and it can work for you. So as I always say, when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose. There's only time to win. So start winning. Check it out at sotaweightloss.com, SOTA weightloss.com.
It's back, and you will be too. Back for 2023 in their new location, June 15th through the 17th at the Cache County Fairgrounds. It's the Summerfest Arts Fair, featuring local and regional artists and musicians. You are going to love this, like you loved it before. Art, painting, ceramics, music, food. Summerfest Arts Fair is loaded with all the things you and the family love most. Then get set for an amazing lineup of musicians, featuring headliners, the Painted Roses, Latin Roots Salsa, and the Solistics. Enjoy other regional musicians like Highline Drifters and the Fry Pan Band. This is where local, regional, and national artists come together to celebrate the arts. So discover 140 artist booths, 38 performing groups, and 30 food vendors, along with a plein air art competition. Get full details at logansummerfest.org. logansummerfest.org. Summerfest Arts Fair, June 15th through the 17th at the Cache County Fairgrounds. That's the Summerfest Arts Fair, June 15th through the 17th at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
Premium checking from America First Credit Union is so much more than a regular checking account. It's a saves you money, makes life easier, always has your back account, because it's absolutely loaded with fantastic benefits and features. In fact, it comes stocked with so much awesome stuff. It was voted Best Perks by Money.com. So make sure you're rocking more than a checking account. Head to America First and apply for the exclusive protection, perks, and paybacks of premium checking today. Subject to membership eligibility and conditions. Federally insured by NCUA. Since 1939, America First has been helping people pursue their financial goals. And as we have, we've become one of the largest credit unions in the country. The reason why is simple. It's because every day we do our very best to help each person, family, and business we serve to realize their individual dreams and achieve financial well-being. True to our name, we always strive to put our members and employees first. So come join us and let us put you first. America First Credit Union. Federally insured by NCUA.
The Utah Division of Emergency Management says, make a plan, get a kit, be informed, get involved. Visit BeReadyUtah.gov for information on how to prepare your family for any emergency.
I'm Andy Farnsworth from KSL News Radio.
And I'm Kellyanne Halverson.
And we're hosts of KSL's Fan Effect podcast.
That's Fan Effect with an E.
We're excited to share with you our knowledge
and arguments
on everything pop culture and fandom, featuring movie and television reviews, pop culture deep dives into video games, cosplay, fandom events, and more. Listen regularly on your favorite podcast platform at KSLNewsRadio.com, KSLPodcasts.com, or on the KSL News Radio app.
And remember, that's Fan Effect with an E.
Text us here in the studio and give us your opinion. The Cypress Credit Union KSL text line at 57500.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, one person is dead after a car crash on State Street in Murray near 5400 South. Second, Michigan police are asking for help in finding a person of interest who was last seen in Corinne, Utah. And third, the Federal Reserve is expected to pause its series of interest rate hikes in the wake of new data. Right now, it's 68 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Presidential indictment. In-depth coverage on KSL News Radio.
President Trump got arraigned yesterday afternoon in Florida. He pled not guilty. And by evening, he was back at his resort in New Jersey celebrating his, what birthday number is it, Dave?
77 today.
I was with Eric and Laura, the kids. Happy birthday, Grandpa. Happy. And I said, oh, great. I just got charged with, they want 400 years approximately. if you add them all up, a fake 400 years old. Thank you, darling. That's so nice.
Isn't it wild how casually he takes these charges? It amazes me. It's like the lawsuits, the criminal charges, they roll off Trump like water on a duck. Now, he's either a great actor or he's genuinely not concerned with his legal problems. At first, I thought, he's a great actor. I'm not so sure anymore. I think he just doesn't care.
There weren't quite the number of people expected at the courthouse in Florida. Remember when we heard from the chief of police of the Miami Police Department that they were expecting anywhere up to between 5,000 and 50,000 folks to show up. There seemed like there were a lot of folks along the motorcade route, but the Miami Herald reporting just a few hundred at the courthouse itself. And President Trump, he did have supporters travel to the Miami area, certainly to show their support. In fact, this man did come from Dallas. The New York Times caught up with him.
You're going to like my name, J. Lowe.
Like Rob Lowe. Do you get that a lot?
Rob Lowe, or even like the Jennifer Lopez, except I'm prettier than she is.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Dallas area.
Oh, from Dallas? So you came all the way from Dallas for this?
Yeah, I got to support my guy.
And this guy, J. Lowe, he compared it to this. He said, I got to support my guy. He compared it to supporting his sports teams. We show up for our sports teams. That is a very strange thing for me, how politics has morphed into sports. I've traveled all over the country following my sports teams. I've done that my entire life. I've never done it for a politician because sports is entertainment. Politics has become entertainment, but not always that entertaining. It's more like the World Wrestling Federation, I feel.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They want you silent. And I am the only one that can save this nation because they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving.
So when you talk about how many people showed up or how many people didn't show up, that's what we do at ball games. Sold out crowd. That means these guys are awesome. They're sold out. Oh, there's still tickets remaining. That means this team's not very popular.
Or they're on sale.
Or
they're at a deep discount.
Either way, anytime we start measuring somebody's worth by how many people show up,
I'm not measuring
like we do in sports.
Time out.
That's a disaster.
Analogy. I'm not using the crowd to measure his worth. I'm using that to show I believe his popularity, his ability to draw big crowds is waning. That crowd that we saw January 6th, that many people ended up, of course, thousands of people ended up marching to the Capitol. 1,000 people ended up being arrested. I think almost 300 more than 400 are facing criminal charges. So many people now sitting in a prison cell for years and years for what went down at the Capitol. That in itself has sent a message to supporters that if you get swept up in the moment of a rowdy crowd that crosses the line from exercising their First Amendment rights into sheer criminal activity and threatening the lives of others, you will pay a price. And the price is your freedom. And what is your freedom worth? And I think that has hindered his ability to draw the large crowd. Now, you might not blame the president himself for what went down at the Capitol on January 6th, although many people do. But what ends up happening is when you get swept up in these large crowds, you lose your sense of direction and your moral and your ethical compass potentially, and then you end up potentially in front of a judge in handcuffs, hoping that you get to see your family again. And I don't think most people feel that that's worth it.
I think that's far too broad of a brush stroke. I think this is something that happened once. It happened on January 6th. He's had 1 million rallies. He's had thousands and tens of thousands of people show up since January 6th. Sure, if we measure everything to the worst rally or the worst moment, then it's all going to seem really bad. There's been lots of rallies where everybody's been completely and totally appropriate. I don't think there's this impending doom every time someone shows up to a Trump rally where they think, oh, well, I'm going to get arrested now because this is going to be a mob mentality thing and everyone's going to lose their mind.
Kelly Meyer with News Nation. You were in Bedminster, New Jersey yesterday for the president's birthday party / I don't know what else we could call it. But what was your takeaway last night?
Well, it was really interesting to, see what he did last night. We were there at Mar-a-Lago the night after his first arraignment, had a similar rally, pretty much stuck to the script. It was a little bit low energy that night. Last night, after his second arraignment, the first time on federal charges, he came back here to Bedminster, New Jersey instead, outside of his golf club, did it outdoors. So it's a bit of a different energy. It was a bit more uplifted maybe than the last one. It seemed like he was taking the charges, jokingly, joking about them, saying, it's the eve of his 77th birthday and saying, happy birthday, these are some charges. And then the crowd saying happy birthday to him. So afterwards, he used this as a fundraiser, really. So it seems as though the campaign is flipping this historic indictment as a way to fuel his fundraising and just continue on his charge. And his supporters are only revved up even more.
You have touched on it, and I was starting to sense maybe a change in the way they're addressing this, almost in a joking manner, dismissive, versus straight up challenging the charges. Have you sensed that change?
Yeah, it seems like, they were saying that the first time a little bit, but it seemed like he was a little bit more somber, I could tell from the Mar-a-Lago speech when we were inside for the first time. I think that it seemed like that really shook him. This time around, it seemed as though he is a bit lighter. He isn't taking it as seriously, though behind the scenes, people are saying that he is scared. But he's still facing also other investigations, the Fulton County, Georgia. We're looking at Washington, D.C. So this isn't the end, and he is continuing to run. But from those supporters we talked with here outside of the golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, they are unwavering in their support for him. And one even saying, he could murder someone and they would still support him. Another saying they would take a bullet for him and that they think he was sent from God. So these supporters are just growing in their support of the former president, and they believe he will be president again.
Kelly, was there a huge crowd there when you were there last night?
It was, fairly large, maybe, 100 or so folks inside there. But they did move more inside afterwards for that candlelit dinner donor event that they were having. So it's unclear how many exactly attended that as well. But similar to the crowds that we saw at Mar-a-Lago, similar cast of characters like the Mike Lindell, MyPillow CEO. Not so many, because I've been covering him since really 2015 when he came down the Golden Escalator, which was just a few days from now, actually 8 years ago. So many of those folks are not around the former president any longer after all of these years.
Kelly Meyer, thank you for joining us from News Nation, who was live with the president yesterday in Bedminster, New Jersey.
What is the next step? We actually, in terms of the federal court indictment or the federal indictment, we don't have a timeline specifically. It sounds as though there weren't specific dates set for the next hearing. And we're just going to have to keep a close eye on the process to see what the next move is on the part of the prosecution or the defense. Next, this was a question that came to mind when we were show prepping today. Dave, do you want to share it?
A pardon. Does President Trump need a pardon? Does everybody need a promise from the Republican pool? Do they need to say, yeah, if I'm elected the president, I'm going to pardon President Trump? Well, that's the conversation. That's what one candidate was doing, and you're starting to see everyone having to address whether or not, if they were elected president, that they would pardon Trump.
Can I expand on that a little bit? I wondered if President Biden should step up and pardon former President Trump.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a woman in Springville is recovering after being hit in the head by a water balloon thrown from a moving truck. Police Lieutenant Warren Foster says the impact caused the woman to fall to the ground.
Previously, she had a head injury and had a cervical fusion. And when she was hit in the head. She did receive a few minor injuries but refused any medical treatment.
Lieutenant Foster says the area where this happened is not a problem area. Detectives are looking into the case. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, a major recall because of some parts that can fall off some popular vehicles.
Stellantis, the company that owns Jeep, is recalling more than 354,000 sport utility vehicles worldwide because the rear coil springs may have been incorrectly installed and can fall off while driving, maybe causing a crash. Those are big, thick, coiled springs that keep the car stable and the ride smooth and safe. If they fall off, they could also threaten other vehicles. The recall covers certain 2021, 22, and 23 Grand Cherokee models. No reports of crashes or injuries. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
The north rim of the Grand Canyon is now open for the summer. The St. George News reports visitors won't be able to stay overnight at the Grand Canyon Lodge until crews fix a break in the north rim water pipeline, but most other services are available. Your money at this moment, the Dow now is down 83 points. That's 0.25%. We're at 34,126. Coming up, if you guessed more thunderstorms in the forecast, you guessed correctly. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
Here's a question. Do you wear dentures? At Grandpa's Dental, you can trade in your floppy dentures and get $2,000 towards an implant-supported solution. You know, they say the older you get, the more you need your teeth. Well, chewing your food isn't a luxury. And taking a bite out of a nice, juicy steak, well, it takes teeth. At Grandpa's Dental, they have over 10,000 restorations under their belt, and it's always affordable. When you walk into one of their 3 locations, you're family. Period. At Grandpa's Dental, they live their family legacy by building lasting relationships through state-of-the-art services. So if you want to stop the flop and actually eat foods you can chew, trade in your dentures at Grandpa's Dental for $2,000 toward your implant solution. Schedule your free consultation at grandpasdental.com today. That's grandpasdental.com.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No. We tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our client's best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Want to annihilate payroll problems? Wipe them out with Paycom. Paycom torches timesheet errors like a flamethrower. Oh, obliterates overtime blunders like a wrecking ball. Holy mackerel! And PTO problems? Paycom leaves them pulverized. Wow! Because with Paycom, employees do their own payroll right in the Paycom app. They find and fix errors before payroll submission, so HR can tackle important stuff, like performance incentives and retaining top producers, so your people can crush their goals. Oops! And with Paycom, employees enter and manage their own HR info, like onboarding, tax setup, and benefits enrollment. It's all in one powerful software with ironclad security. Stop doing that! Sick of HR and payroll headaches? Don't just eliminate them. Demolish them at paycom.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the biggest delays along the Wasatch Front remain southbound I-15 in Weber County. This is between Marriott Slaterville and 21st Street in Ogden. 2 right lanes remain blocked from an earlier crash. Just one car of that crash remains on scene. Looks like they're waiting for a tow truck. And then you have delays along the Wasatch back. That's US 40 northbound due to construction between Pineview Reservoir and the Park City turnoff. At IFA, you'll find soil treatments like Revive and AquaDrive to keep your lawn green in the summer heat. IFA Country Stores, helping to grow the things you love. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather now. We'll have some more scattered thunderstorms throughout the day with a high of 79. Similar tomorrow with cooler temperatures, but then on the weekend, we'll get back up into the 80s Saturday and Sunday with a break from the storms before they come back again early next week. Right now, it's 69 degrees at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
Presidential indictment. In-depth coverage on KSL News Radio.
It's time for us to ask the question, should President Trump be pardoned over this federal indictment? He just appeared in court yesterday for an arraignment, pled not guilty, in case you missed that news. And GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, I have a hard time saying all of those syllables. He held a rally in Miami. Was it at the courthouse? It seemed like it was right at the courthouse.
On January 20th, 2025, if I'm elected the next U.S. president, to pardon Donald J. Trump for these offenses in this federal case. And I have demanded that every other candidate in this race either sign this commitment to pardon on January 20th, 2025, or else to explain why they are not.
And he certainly has said he felt like this was completely and totally politically motivated. That's why he promises that he would pardon Trump. Now, the question I have, is this going to become some sort of litmus test for GOP candidates? Either you will pardon or you won't pardon. Explain why or why not. Either way, candidates are constantly being forced into this strange world where they're competing against Trump. They can't outright support him, but they can't really attack him either because you don't want to go full Mitt Romney and alienate the entire Trump base.
I want to just take a step back a little bit and make sure our listeners are clear on which case we're talking about, because it hit me that there are a number of cases kind of swarming around, and we're specifically talking about, as far as I know, Dave, the classified documents case that's now a federal case. Where he is accused of withholding classified documents from federal authorities, where he is accused of a conspiracy to hide those documents, also accused of keeping them from his own attorney. The list is long. There are 37 counts, but this is the case that we're talking about right now. And this is the case where the president jokingly said last night, and it very well may be true, he faces some 400 years in prison because some of these counts come with 20-year prison sentence. Doesn't mean that's what he's going to get at all. But Trump's very own former vice president, Mike Pence, was asked about the potential for a pardon on his CNN town hall. Let's listen to that.
If Donald Trump is convicted of a crime and you're elected president, would you pardon him?
Well, I don't want to speak about hypotheticals. I'm not sure I'm going to be elected president of the United States, but I believe we have a fighting chance. I really believe we do.
And if you are?
And I would hope, again, Dana, you're as persistent as ever. CNN is living up to its reputation. But look, there are real issues the American people are facing. And rather than talking about that, I want to talk about what the people here in Iowa are talking about, which is the failed policies of the Biden administration.
And you can hear the tap dancing. In the little background, you can hear the tap dancing. Again, this weird place where you cannot alienate the Trump base. If you alienate the Trump base, you have no chance whatsoever of getting the nomination. But at the same time, in every other world, you absolutely go after your opponent. And any weakness they may have, you just pounce on that. But we're in this weird world where you can't do that if you're the GOP.
What did Nikki Haley say? She's in the race, former U.S. ambassador under President Trump. What would she? What would Nikki do?
Inclined to favor.
DeSantis, Tim Scott, Ron DeSantis out of Florida. In fact, that's where President
He wasn't
Trump,
there.
He was not there yesterday that we're aware of, right? I mean, he's busy on the campaign trail. What would Florida Governor Ron DeSantis do if he took over the White House?
DeSantis hasn't said anything about the pardon that I've seen. Senator Tim Scott out of South Carolina hasn't said anything. Those are two big names. The one that I think maybe surprised me, or maybe not surprised me, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, who
what did he say?
Was a former federal prosecutor. So, you know, I don't know.
Let me guess.
You gotta
That's a big
stick
no.
together. He said not only no, but that it would be wrong and offensive to promise a pardon.
Can we go way back in time when then President Gerald Ford afforded a former President Nixon a pardon? And that is the last time a former president was pardoned. And it was Gerald Ford who did it. He pardoned Richard Nixon for the Watergate scandal.
Now, therefore, I, Gerald R. Ford, President of the United States, pursuant to the pardon power conferred upon me by Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, have granted, and by these presents do grant, a full, free, and absolute pardon unto Richard Nixon for all offenses against the United States which he, Richard Nixon, has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from July 20, 1969 through August 9, 1974.
And this decision by Gerald Ford likely cost him the 1976 election. Many people believe that it was this moment, this decision, that cost him the 76 election. Now, the reason President Ford wanted this chapter, the Nixon scandal, the Watergate scandal, to end is because he believed it was in the country's best interest.
Or someone must write the end to it. I have concluded that only I can do that. And if I can, I must.
Oh, I'm torn. On one hand, I'm in the Asa Hutchinson camp where, you know, if somebody does the crime, is convicted of the crime, they've got to do the time, even if that time is probation. You know, even if they have to face the music, right? So, I mean, we're still a long way out from that, too. We've heard the special prosecutor say he wants us to go quick. The federal docket in Miami is known as the rocket docket because things move quickly through the system in Miami. But we've also heard that this could take years. And I don't want our country torn apart by somebody who's not in office anymore.
Yeah.
Or
maybe he is. Maybe he does win re-election. Maybe Trump does win.
Well, so what you're saying is afford the pardon, but who gives the pardon? Is it President Biden? Does he step up now and say, we appreciate the work of the special prosecutor, we appreciate the work of the Department of Justice, the FBI in this matter. We have the documents back. We believe we have everything back. And for the better of the nation, I'm going to pardon President Trump. Because really, it doesn't do President Trump much good for Ramaswamy if he gets elected in 2025 to have that be his first. That's 2 years away, right?
Yeah. And again, who knows if this will still be going in 2 years, probably. But I think you make the way you describe that, the idea of President Biden, for the good of the country, saying, you know what, we got to just put this behind us. It will never happen. But when you described it, I thought, that is magnanimous. That is truly country above personal vendetta. Now, there's a lot of people that feel, no, you do the crime, you do the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the best thing for the country? Do you think the country would have been better off having Richard Nixon, the former president, prosecuted and thrown in jail
For spying on the Democratic Party.
Yeah. The Watergate scandal, you follow that line of thinking all the way to the jail.
You follow
cell.
the money. Yeah.
Yeah, follow the money.
To the jail cell.
Would the country have been better off had Richard Nixon done the time?
So should we ask the question of our listeners? Should President Biden pardon President Trump?
For the good of the country.
Is it too soon to ask that question?
Yeah. It's a great
fair
question.
It is. Okay.
801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Is this idea of President Trump being pardoned, is this a wild, crazy idea? Or is this the thing, is this the moment that brings the country back together?
Dave and Dujanovic.
Before Dave and Debbie get started each day, this station is all news all morning.
And later today, we follow up on those stories as you drive home.
Get important news all morning and all afternoon.
Here on KSL News Radio.
Last summer was killer.
We had 34 days of 100-degree temperatures.
And this year?
We're not going to have a summer like 2022. That is such an anomaly. To repeat that twice, it's unheard of.
Get a reliable forecast as temperatures rise and storms move in. Listen for traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. It's on. Mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio. Your all-summer companion for news.
Okay, we're on the countdown. 2 days away. That is Friday, and we all love Fridays. I get it. But what makes Fridays even better this June? Free Frazzle Fridays. Frazzle is a slushie, tons of different flavors. I get mine at Maverick. I drive to work every day past like 9 Mavericks. That is where I like to stop by and get my Frazzle slushie. Frazzle is a Utah company. They have their headquarters here. They are worldwide, believe it or not. There's Frazzles all over the world. But here in Utah, make sure you stop by on Fridays all through June. So there's a couple Fridays left. Maverick, Holiday Oil, Fast Stop, Top Stop. Lots of places offer Frazzles. You get a 12-ouncer for free. My family has totally taken advantage of this. We love it. My favorite right now, the Pina Colada. It has a big jolt of caffeine in it, so I get the sugar, I get the caffeine. It's a hot day. It's exactly what I want to do to start my weekend. So check it out. Go to freefrazzlefriday.com.
He might not have a badge, but we have faith in his killer instinct. Celebrate the 10th anniversary of famed detective priest, Father Brown. Stream the new season now, only on BritBox.
That sounds like a marvelous plan.
Plus, watch even more unofficial detectives in much-loved series, including Agatha Christie's Marple, Murder in Provence, and more. Expect intriguing mystery. Expect the Undetectives. Start streaming today at BritBox.com.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go, so I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partner with Beacon. With the new Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips. It's like having my Beacon rep in my pocket 24/7. I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Now through June, purchase through Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Beacon, always building.
Life is full of firsts. Your first car, first college class, first trip to the ocean, first house, first child, your first day on the job, and your first day of retirement. As you grow, You First is here for all of your important milestones. Come grow with us. You First can help you take each first step towards growing your life's potential. Learn more about how You First can support you through all of life's firsts at youfirstcu.com. That's youfirstcu.com.
Ever feel like your insurance company doesn't know you?
Insurance Corporation will issue generic plans where agricultural activities occur.
Only a human can visit your farm or ranch to know what you need.
Find out why Farm Bureau Financial Services has been the #1 ag insurer for 25 years. It's your future. Let's protect it. Talk to an agent today or visit fbfs.com/protect. #1 ag insurer across our territory. 1996 to 2021 SNL P&C Group Direct Written Premium.
Hi, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Are you suffering from excruciating headaches, anxiety, and insomnia? you may be suffering from CMS, Crappy Monitor Syndrome. That old computer screen from years ago could be the problem, exposing you to massive amounts of radiation frying your brain. At PC Laptops, we only carry screens that we've tested on our own eyeballs. Right now, purchase any PC Laptops desktop with an external monitor and get a free size upgrade. That's right. For example, if you buy a 22-inch monitor, you get an upgrade to 24 inches for no extra charge. Buy a 24, get an upgrade to a 27-inch monitor for free. We have brand new PC Laptops desktop computers starting from $11.99 or $29 a month, backed by a lifetime warranty. And to make it extra sweet, we're doing 0 interest for a year on approved credit. So run into any one of our PC Laptops locations right now or check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. Because at PC Laptops, we love you.
Calling all Utah locals. See the Southwest by rail on board Rocky Mountaineer. They've extended their latest offer until June 30th. Save up to $1,200 per couple. Visit RockyMountaineer.com to book.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Chrysler is recalling more than 300,000 Jeep Grand Cherokees because rear coil springs may have been incorrectly installed and can fall off. Second, a special legislative session begins this afternoon to discuss the dates for this year's special election to replace Congressman Chris Stewart. And third, Salt Lake City plans to set aside an area for homeless camps. Right now, it's 69 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Should President Biden do to President Trump what President Gerald Ford did for President Nixon, who was in trouble with the law for spying on Democratic headquarters at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C.? Here's Gerald Ford pardoning President Nixon decades ago.
Or someone must write the end to it. I have concluded that only I can do that. And if I can, I must.
And remember, Ford pardoned Nixon before he was found guilty. Before he went through the process, he basically said, hey, between these dates, and it was years, he said, I pardon him from everything. For the best interest of the country, we are moving forward. And quite honestly, I think we did. Can you imagine if that happened right now? If President Biden steps in and says, for the good of the country, whatever President Trump did, I pardon him so that we can move forward. It is such a foreign concept. Now, President Ford, Gerald Ford, was Nixon's vice president. So
Same party.
I mean, he was his running mate. There was almost this quid pro quo belief that, hey, I'll pardon you if you resign so that I can be president. That's what a lot of people thought at the time, although President Ford said that there had nothing to do with it. There was no promise, but it was in the best interest of the country.
Phone calls, 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Do you think that it would be the best thing for the country if President Biden is pardoned? Excuse me, President Trump, that was a big gaffe. President Trump is pardoned by President Biden, as opposed to waiting for a Republican to potentially get elected to office in the next couple of years. They take office and then, as some have promised to do already, at least consider a pardon for President Trump. Should President Biden do it now? 801-575-TALK.
Let's start off with Tamara in Draper. Tamara, what do you think?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We got you.
Okay. Well, I don't think spying on the Democratic Party is anywhere near comparable to overthrowing the election, bribing Republican election officials, the documents case. You've got January 6th, you've got sexual abuse, you've got tax fraud. No, I think that is not good for the American people for President Biden to pardon him, because that just says you can be president and do whatever you want and get away with it. And people out here are going to jail every day for a lot less than that. So no, I think it's a horrible idea.
Tamara, thank you. But in fairness, all those things that you listed, none of those led to charges being brought against the former president. He was never sent to jail. There was never a pardon that was necessary. These are the first federal charges in the history of the country brought against a former president.
Kevin from Far West, good morning. What are your thoughts on this?
Good morning. The only concern I have is with the young man that got the top secret documents out, and he showed them to everybody and got them around. And basically, Trump did the same thing. He's going to get away with it. So I'm kind of mixed feelings with it.
Are you talking about others who have been accused and are serving time for leaking classified information, and that they're serving time, so it wouldn't be fair to them if he didn't at least get before a jury or at least have the case heard in court?
Yes, and then the young man that's back east that leaked out them documents is now in federal custody waiting for his time to be proven guilty or not guilty.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about one aside from this instance with President Trump.
Yes.
That's right. Okay.
Yes.
And others.
Yes. There's two of them going on right now.
Yeah. Right. And that, if I'm not mistaken, that's a fairly young member of the National Guard, a state National Guard member.
Yes.
Who was arrested for and faces allegations of leaking classified information. And I think we have some heartburn with the idea of, well, I say criminal forgiveness, of allowing one person to be forgiven, pardoned in this case for their alleged crimes, but yet others have to face the jury, the judge, and potentially years behind bars. And so if you allow one person to go off scot-free, basically, aside from, the indictment that will live on a search engine for decades, what do you do with the others who have to serve hard time for it?
Well, there's no question that not all folks are the same, right? Prosecuting your top political rival, a former president, is different than prosecuting me. And to pretend otherwise is naive at best. I mean, I would like to think we are all equal, but presidents, governors, they have the power to pardon. And the reason very very few people, I guess 51 people, are given the power to pardon is because there's this understanding that at some point the crime is not worth the time. So whatever happens, the governor or the president steps in and says, okay, we're just going to be done with this.
The question, what brought this to my mind is not about the crime versus the prison time. It's the process that will drag on for years and the state of the nation. And therefore, does the current president step up and say, for the state of the nation, for the good of the country, and we are in the middle of an election cycle or coming up on one. I mean, we kind of live in one perpetually now. I'm going to pardon him. I'm going to pardon him, and maybe that'll be to the detriment of Biden's career, as it was as president, at least as it was to Gerald Ford. But maybe it won't be. Maybe it won't be. Maybe there will be more support than we think for that.
I would hope so. I would love, because we are so divided, I would love for there to be something, and I'm not saying this is the case, but something that brings us together as a country. And I just don't think anybody has the political courage or the political will to do what Gerald Ford did. He knew that this was likely going to cost him his presidency, which it ultimately did, but he did it because he believed it was in the country's best interest.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, we have breaking news. Police have identified a body found in the Jordan River Surplus Canal over the weekend as 22-year-old Tyler Svedich. Police say there's nothing to suggest The situation was suspicious, but there's a full investigation into the cause of death underway. A total nightmare for a Lehigh family coming home from a week-long vacation. The Brown family found their car broken into at the Salt Lake Airport. Their registration and garage door opener were missing. Blake Brown tells KSL-TV the thieves used those to break into their home in Lehigh and turn it upside down. They stole thousands of dollars worth of valuables.
And they just came in and just dig in through my kids' stuff, their activities, even took food. Like, they were desperate.
The family's cautioning others not to leave their personal information or garage door openers within reach. Police working on tracking down the culprits. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Checks aren't as popular as a form of payment now as they used to be, but thieves are still finding ways to alter checks and steal from the people who still use them. ABC's Jim Ryan has more.
Federal investigators say criminals are stealing checks from mailboxes and then using technology that melts the ink in the recipient space, writing in their own names. It's a modern-day approach to the old problem of check fraud. It's costing Americans millions.
The Treasury Department says there have been almost twice as many reports of check fraud in the past year as there were the year before. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 102 points on the day right now. The NASDAQ, though, is up 51 points at this hour. And our KSL weather, the storms are going to be happening in the morning. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Pro Paint Days are here at Lowe's. Now through June 16th, Lowe's MVPs members can start earning 20% back in paint rewards via Lowe's e-gift card when you spend $100 or more on qualifying paint purchases. Stock up on top paint brands like our new and exclusive HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Spec-Rite Pro Interior Paint. Lowe's knows pros. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. See Lowe's.com/L/pro loyalty terms. Subject to change.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
It's springtime in the Rockies, and it's time to apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. Take advantage of spring storms with an application of Revive now. Protect yourself from drought later this summer and skyrocketing water costs. With Revive, if you water 2 times a week, it's like watering 4. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest-standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, a tow truck is now on the scene of a crash southbound I-15 right at 21st Street in Ogden. It's been in place for a few hours now with 2 right lanes remaining blocked on the freeway. That has traffic backed up into Marriott Slaterville about 2.5 miles. Once you get past it, although you've got good speeds all the way into downtown Salt Lake. and no problems on the rest of the roadways right now throughout the Salt Lake and Utah County valleys. Gillette Heating and Air Conditioning is offering spring air conditioning tune-ups for only $59. Call 801-825-4500 to schedule today. A Carrier Factory authorized dealer. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, clouds building up today with some scattered storms, and we'll see more showers and storms overnight and tomorrow morning. Then we'll dry out and warm up for the weekend. Right now, 70 degrees, mostly cloudy at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Eye on the Hill 2023. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
It is a special session day on Utah's Capitol Hill. It'll happen this afternoon. And I want to explore this question. Is there some unfair politics at play going on today on Capitol Hill? And here's why I asked that question, Dave. Certainly as part of today's special session, and you and I've talked about this many times, there will be a discussion over bumping special election dates around to accommodate the special election that we need to have over Representative Chris Stewart's congressional seat, which will be vacated mid-September. But we also anticipate lawmakers to set a deadline for voters to swap political party affiliation. And that deadline will likely be today if the law is passed, if this is passed and the governor signs it.
Over the last couple of years, we've seen this bouncing back and forth. Am I a registered Republican, Democrat, Independent, unaffiliated? And there's been some shenanigans where Democrats claim they're or register as a Republican so that they can vote in the Republican primary, because only registered Republicans can vote in the Republican primary. It's called a closed primary. So the Utah State Legislature has passed bills, some deadlines saying you can't make this decision like the day of. This has to be like well thought out. You have to do it a few months in advance if you want to vote in the Republican primary.
In a moment, we're going to speak to Lanny Chapman, the clerk of Salt Lake County. She is in charge of Salt Lake County's elections. But before we do, I want to go back to KSL at Night, last night's show. If you missed it, it's on from 7 to 9. It's a great show, packed with tons of great information and discussion about a lot of political topics. And this one really struck me as something we had to talk about today. And in fact, they had President of the Senate, Stuart Adams, on the show last night talking about this switching of party affiliation and how lawmakers will be looking at that today.
So we want to give people the opportunity to express their affiliation, but we don't want people to move back and forth, Republican and Democrat, and have it be game. So we will address that, and we'll probably make those time frames very short. And so people that are Republicans vote in the Republican primary, and those that are Democrats vote in the Democratic primary, and it isn't game. So we'll probably shorten that process up.
The common phrase: we don't want it to be a game. We don't want you to try to game the system. If you're a Republican, great, be a Republican. If you're a Democrat, great, be